Yo, what's up? It's your boy Currency 365. Hope you guys are doing well. Legends never die. They stay in our hearts. If you want to support us, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and also you can come down here and hit the join button under the video or in our channel section. And you can also join our Patreon, patreon.com/currency365. And we also have Cash App and also PayPal for support if you want to sow some seeds. Peace out. God bless. Enjoy the video and keep the movement going. Legends. Bye.
Office, it was Democrats always saying it was Bush's fault. Well, when Obama got in office, they were saying it was Bush's fault. Trump got in. It was never, I never heard it was any of the stuff was Obama's doing or stuff he did. You know, they just make it like Obama was squeaky clean. And Obama claims he didn't have no scandals whatsoever. Even though, as I pointed out in previous videos, I've named a number of egregious offenses and crimes that him and Hillary Rodham Clinton committed. But no, they get a free pass. Rules for thee, but not for me. Crimes I pointed out that were far worse than Trump. One of Obama had a campaign violation. He admitted, talked about over $250,000. I saw it reported on by the mainstream media. I wouldn't have known about it, but it gets swept under the rug. It gets covered up. You had the Benghazi incident. Ambassador Chris Stevens killed. They're told to stand down for whatever reason. Other officials, military, Navy SEALs were killed. That was on Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State under Obama, on their watch. Dr. Ben Carson spoke at a prayer breakfast meeting. Said he received a call from the White House. They didn't like his comments that he made about Obama's so-called Affordable Care Act known as Obamacare. I have a good memory. I remember. Folks, that's illegal. That's highly criminal. Said the White House called, said White House didn't like your comments that you made the prayer breakfast. Wow. Did you know after that, Dr. Ben Carson's nonprofit organizations were targeted? That's illegal. You had a scandal under Obama called, look it up, called the Lois Lerner scandal. People forget. You also had, before President Trump took office, you had Obama was accused of illegal surveillance. And this is from his own intelligence officers. James Clapper, Michael Hayden, former head of the National Security Agency, told Trump, hey, do you know Obama spied on you? James Clapper goes on CNN, said, oh, you know that was Obama's idea because we know Eric Snowden came out as a whistleblower. But Democrats want you to easily forget about these things. And folks, I'm going over information that was reported on by the mainstream media. So I don't give about fact check. They're liars, they're frauds, hired by the radical left to cover up their crimes that the progressive liberals have committed. So understand this, fact check, you know, is full of it. And so was Snoops. That was all created basically to counter, to try to say, now you do have things on the extreme side, I would say, that conservatives, they do get engaged in as far as independent media can be stretched out or, you know, a bit outlandish and things of that sort when there's no evidence. I do get that, but it doesn't mean that the information that I went over about these different scandals that happened under President Obama and Hillary Clinton, the Benghazi incident, with Ambassador Chris Stevens being murdered, as well as Navy SEALs, military men. I hear allegedly they were told to stand down, just like the assassination attempt recently where Trump's Secret Service members ratted out a guy who took over, who was grilled by our Congress. They were told to stand down, and he claims that when Trump asked for extra security last year or the year before, that he provided that and he lied under perjury. It's now coming out, but they said he may not face consequences because you have deep state criminal operatives. Like you guys notice when I use the term globalist, I say sometimes I'll say a global criminal syndicate. You know, they have underlings, they have henchmen, gatekeepers. By the way, you guys have heard me use those terms. Now the leftists will try to steal some of my talking points, by the way, which I've heard them when I've listened. Hardly anybody else out there used a lot of this term, and now it's, you know, being used, you know, more often than normal. But I'm hearing Mayorkas was colluding allegedly, but I say to get the good information, go to Band.video. I've been paying attention. I keep my eyeglasses on. I'm very well studied, folks. I watch the mainstream media too because I want to see what lies they're up to. Because I know I meet a lot of people who are so-called woke or awake to the truth, and they say they don't watch the news anymore. The reason I still watch the news from time to time, I want to know what lies the corporate mainstream media is up to. Or I want to know how they're twisting the truth. I want to know each side of the aisle. So I'm telling you, you're getting top-notch information that you can cross-reference. But don't take my word for what I say. I'm so confident in what I research that I've had people come back to me years later, friend from college, Terrence Mitchell, it's been a while, messaged me, told me the stuff I used to talk about at Davenport University, used to be called Detroit College of Business years ago. He said, man, that stuff you used to talk about is right, about the Illuminati, stuff like that. He messaged me out the blue on one of my phantom, or I call it ghost Facebook accounts I had at the time, or whatever. Messaged me and told me. I had people come back to me, you know, but I put this out there. I want people to do their own research and just don't go off identity politics and vote for Kamala Harris because you feel she's a black woman. Look at her policies. Look at each candidate's policies, what they stand for overall. Overall, Trump is more so for biblical principles. Now, one could argue whether or not he's a hardcore Christian. You know, that's debatable. I understand. But the Republican Party, as I pointed out, conservatives are not trying to push all these agendas with this LGBT stuff, same-sex marriage, abortion. They're for public safety. So you get a Democrat in office, this is what's going to happen again. Your inflation that you think is bad now, it's going to be far worse under a Democrat president. The cost of living is happening now. Your gas prices, your cost of food, thanks Democrat. We're currently under Biden-Harris administration, by the way. That's happening under a Democrat. You can thank them. The reparations that Biden, remember, you guys forget about this. Remember, and this was mainstream coverage. I saw the activist Dr. Umar Johnson went ballistic over this. When Biden had the nerve to pass reparations for illegal immigrants. All this money for Ukraine. And I heard his press secretary at the White House say last year, and I told my mother this when I was debating her the other day, and I said, I saw his press secretary, I don't remember her name, Janine something or whatever, say this at Juneteenth holiday last year. Said the Biden administration hasn't forgotten about you all, hasn't forgotten about the black community. We're looking into reparations. But after that, she says, more money for Ukraine. And I said, I'm through. So don't criticize me for not being a registered voter. I'm just laying out. Why would I also want to participate in a very, very corrupt government so far? I think Republicans are not perfect, but if you had to pick a lesser of two evils, the better option, they are the better option overall. It's the radical left, aka Democrats, liberal progressives, that are pushing these particular policies, in my humble opinion. And oh, by the way, they're also pushing censorship. So for all of you all out there that don't want to see TikTok get banned, you need to support freedom of speech. Because I'm going to tell you behind the scenes, the Democratic Party, liberal progressive, is heavily aligned with the globalists, the World Economic Forum. And I don't just say this lightly. They're heavily aligned with the ruling class elite, the globalists. And they want to end, Klaus Schwab wants to get rid of freedom of speech. So that's another thing. You're going to see censorship ramp up heavily. And I can give you examples of censorship. Well, hold on a second. Okay, I'm back. So as I was finishing up censorship that's been happening, and I pointed out this has been taking place before the Supreme Court had made that one particular ruling not too long ago that did not go in favor overall. I think there's another case they have to rule on that hasn't been affirmed yet. But the one that they already made a ruling on so far, I don't know. In case you all don't know, I don't have it in front of me. But if I set up my Zoom account, and I can show my face, I can share my screen. I got the evidence, and I can read the article and show you all that there was a lower court, but real high up, encompassed, I think, not just the state of Louisiana, some other states may have been involved, and the House of Representatives conducted an investigation. So this just wasn't a lower court. They had ruled that the Biden-Harris administration was told, and they were asked after this, they found evidence they had illegally violated laws where they had spied on Americans, which they even said under Obama. Remember when Eric Snowden came out as a whistleblower? They said this is unconstitutional. So I said, if this is illegal, why are they doing this? This is coming from Democrats. So when they accuse Trump of being a dictator, I also pointed out to my mom, remember during the pandemic, they were trying to get Trump to lock the whole country down. Trump said no, he left it up to state governors. Once again, during the pandemic, which they brought that in also, and he still did good overall. I hear so many people tell me, even a liberal lady told me on Telegram, she had more money under Trump. Even though she didn't like him, she told me she had more money under Trump. What does that tell you? It's a liberal who told me this. Some lady I debated on Telegram, because it's different groups of people. I came across a lot of flat earthers on there, by the way. I had to figure it out. I said, where's this ideology coming from? Because you're studying, I'm one of the best when it comes to forensic research. And I have analytical sense on a massive level. You may think I may have made that word up if there's actually a word term. I actually got that from the rapper AZ from my album some years ago. I won't go into that. That's neither here nor there. But I'm very well studied researcher. And I kept coming across these people with this particular ideology, and I researched them and figured out, I said, oh, they're flat earthers. They have, because I'm not a flat earther, by the way, in case I had some people wonder, because I asked a friend of mine, I said, why do the flat earth people gravitate towards me? And he told me, he said, they gravitate towards you because he said your ideology sometimes appears to be at times on the fringe. He kind of put it, it's kind of on the fringe, and that's why because they're seeing extreme themselves or whatever. But I believe in science. I believe in exoplanets and stuff like that. I trust true science, not fake made up stuff. But I believe, and that this is not a dome we're living under, a firmament that outer space is water and stuff of that sort. I think, in my opinion, I'll say this: I try to find commonality in an ideology, and I'll say, I think what they're trying to explain, they have a different way of putting it versus regular natural science. They have another way, and I think it's some truth to some of the things, but it's like, to me, it's truth mixed in with lies, in my opinion. They're using different metrics. Just giving my opinion about it, I think like the mud flood theory with Tatari, there could be some truth, but some things that can be proven, but we don't have solidified evidence for. So I can't make a definitive statement. But I have studied science. I took science in elementary school, by the way, science in middle school. So I have a friend. He doesn't like to stir up controversy or debates, but he breaks down the flat earth very well to disprove it, that it's not true. And I said I can relate to it, but I try to stay away from. I try to listen. I have a friend that is. I said out of all the flat earthers I've come across, he's he's cool to listen to. But as far as my other friend, I'm able to relate to what he breaks down because I actually took science in elementary school and I understand it. He breaks it down to the purest form. And I talked to two of my other friends. One of them is a historian, the other one is in actually has inventions and patents, and they both are not. They all three of them are not flat earthers. Because I asked them when I did research into these people's ideology, because I kept wondering, I didn't know what this was, where this was coming from, and I have my theory behind who is pushing the flat earth ideology and why it's kind of aligned with pushing out some of this false pseudo history in the black community, pushing out false disinformation. And it has something to do with the people that I'll just say that are very powerful that came after Kanye West. And I'll leave it at that. My deep research points to I'm thinking those people are behind, because my historian friend I knew, he's been overseas. He's very, very well studied. I'll say much greater than I am. He did study geology, archaeological work, by the way, very, very well studied, was able to name previous civilizations and give me specific time periods, which a lot of people can't do. The customs, how the people lived at the time, which specific time period it was. See, a lot of people talk stuff, but they don't give you those critical details. See, I go very in depth, very thorough. So you have to also ask those types of questions when you get into debates. But my friend, I brought this to his attention and said, who's putting out this disinformation? And he was able to clearly break it down. So I have my theories, but I won't say these particular people, and I'll just let you ponder and piece together. But they were the people that came after Kanye West that has a lot of control. We know they own and control a lot of things, and it's not a coincidence. They didn't just get to that point by chance. You even study elements of history where they were the money changers. And they have a lot to do with causing people or ethnic groups to be poor or to be in poverty as well. But I won't say their name. I'll let those out there figure out who I'm talking about. It is for what it is. But I'm going to acknowledge a couple in the chat, a couple comments I see. Hadruple Sosa Marquez says, hey, brother Dorsey, peace and love. Appreciate you, Hadruple. Mikasa Sukasa. They are flushing money down the toilet. Yes, yes, they are. With political corruption, one thing, Democrats, they have a good public relations campaign because they like to appeal to the poor people or have outreach, but they're very deceptive because unlike conservatives or Republicans or men that I respect that are standing up to corruption, that are exposing it and will prosecute so we can have a more ethical government. It may not be perfect, but it will descend into something far worse if a Democrat gets in office, because you have to have standards. Just like a married couple or someone that's dating has to have boundaries. Just like a woman would break up with a man for certain reasons. Maybe she has to have certain boundaries. If the man, let's say if he drinks too much, if he's an alcoholic, or if he doesn't want to get his life together. You know, some people might have pettier reasons. He doesn't maybe make as much money as her. He may not be tall. These are called boundaries, but more critical things, let's say more so with if the man is an alcoholic, he's a drinker, or he's using drugs, or he's not being responsible. These are called ethical boundaries. So you have to have that when it comes to politics, government. That's why we had checks and balances. When you study the three-body politic, I took American government in high school. They taught us about the legislative branch, the executive branch, the judicial branch. By the way, I took this in high school, by the way. So you're supposed to learn these things, and that's the purpose. So the Supreme Court acts as checks and balances. Everything is not supposed to go necessarily to one political party's agenda. And that's what the Democrats are doing. They want to pack the court. That's another one of their agendas. They want to get rid of religious freedom. They're going to flood this country with illegal immigrants from other countries that you've never seen before. So they always like to just try to make the Latin community look bad. But you have foreigners that also come from other countries as well that are also Caucasian, but they try to stereotype and make it seem like it's only Mexicans or people from Venezuela or the Latino community. That's not true. There's foreigners that come from other different parts. And the sad part is our deep state when you study the history, when the intelligence agencies were created, they went into those countries, corrupted them, sabotaged them, and a lot of those people left those places and things. But it's not just because they want to come over, some for a better life, but many of them are sleeper cells or operatives, and that's why they're being incentivized, where they're being given large sums of cash assistance, food stamp, well, what you call welfare or whatever, intentionally, and they're being put on a pedestal. And in some areas like Chicago, where the black residents have been complaining, they ship them to the poorest neighborhoods where the black residents have been there for years and are just being poo-pooed on. So black residents of Chicago, if you come across this video, don't forget your inflation right now, your grocery prices, your high gasoline prices, that's happening under Kamala and Biden administration. Just don't forget that. Just because she's a woman, this is what's going to happen. Your crime rate is going to go up. So black women out here, if you hear this, understand we black men, we really won't be able to protect you because you guys are pushing for Kamala is a front. We know presidents don't. There's people behind the curtain, especially her, because Trump is a maverick. He stood up to the establishment. She's a yes person. Obama's been behind the scenes behind Biden, by the way. So she's a puppet, more so a puppet. So understand that as well. Where Trump, the difference, he stood up to the new order. And many people are trying to say it's a hoax and this assassination attempt. It's been proven by our very own corrupt FBI, but there's still good members within the FBI. I don't believe everybody is bad, but unfortunately, it's been compromised. Maybe things can change. But they released a report and said that was a real bullet. That was a real assassination attempt, folks. It's now coming out in hearings as they question this the head of the Secret Service that took over. That was probably secretly in alignment with Alejandro Mayorkas. That is part of, now I know who's part of the deep state as they identify who these bad actors are. These corrupt members of the criminal cabal, the global syndicate, their underlings, their minions, Cobra Commander, the bad guys, the evil ones that work for Klaus Schwab and Yuval Noah Harari that says we don't no longer need humans, that they've declared humans obsolete. Yes, and we know Jack Smith, he's one of them. He looks like, what's that guy from Superman years ago? Forget that guy that played in that Superman movie. I told my friend that one bad guy, that character they had, where those three other ones had Zod. Jack Smith looks like the guy from the 80s, the Christopher Reeve Superman. Jack Smith looks like a lot like Zod. Look at the photo. Go back and look at the old Superman photos of Zod. He looks just like the guy, the actor that plays Zod. But look, compared to Superman, the one that Clark Kent played in when you had the three evil ones. So these people are the bad guys. They're the deep state. And then another thing to tell my mother, explain to her, you got to understand, the Republican Party is not perfect, but the difference is they have what's called a Freedom Caucus. They have an element that's standing up to their establishment, folks. The Democrats don't have anything like that. It's like whatever goes. A friend of mine explained the political ideology of the Democrats. You guys, they don't have no backbone. It's like with Democrats, anything goes, and you guys force ethical Christians and people to go along with their wicked agendas. Many of you all born-again Christians, stop being afraid to speak out. You know it is not biblical. The Bible did not speak nothing about homosexuality, even though they tried to change certain Bibles and stuff. I heard about that, and they try to report churches and have their 501c3 status taken away. These are wicked people, and that's coming from the left, the Democratic Liberal Progressive Party, like that lesbian mayor down in Houston. I don't know if she's still the mayor when she had those pastors targeted who are standing up for truth. Those are real pastors. Whoever those pastors are, at least they tried. I know they may have had to back down, but I'll commend them. I'll give them credit, other than these pastors that don't have no backbone, that are weak. Bible doesn't speak nothing about that. And it also tells a story about Sodom and Gomorrah being destroyed.